this, again, is not about immigration enforcement. It's about control, it's about obedience, it's about compliance. They have to distract and divide us if they want to enact their incredibly unpopular, un-American agenda.
So TPS is temporary protected status, and it's basically a special legal status given to people who are fleeing from a country that is deeply unstable. When and if, the ICE surge happens, I want people to remember, like undocumented people, if you're watching, you have constitutional rights.
I just want to really, really stress how important it is to get out and record these operations safely, of course, and to not interfere.
I also want to point out that being physically present in the U.S. without proper documentation is a civil violation. In a lot of places, like jaywalking is a civil violation.
And I love that you're connecting ICE operations with free speech protections, because they are directly connected, in my opinion. As I'm watching what's happening, I think they are directly connected. And I think it's going to become more and more apparent as public perception continues to turn on ICE, on President Trump's immigration agenda. I saw in the Dispatch a couple of days ago, which is the area newspaper in Columbus, an article from Bowling Green State University. They ran a poll. This was back in October, so this is before the killing of Keith Porter Jr., of Renee Good, of Alex Preddy, of all of this. And in that poll in October, already people are saying 63% of Ohioans are saying that free speech is less secure than what it was in 2024. Civil rights and civil liberties are being rolled back, directly linking it to ICE. And so I think, people are starting to catch on. People are seeing that this, again, is not about immigration enforcement. It's about control, it's about obedience, it's about compliance. And so I think we need to be explicit about that. When we're talking with our friends and neighbors, you're chatting about the news, like, ICE is not there to keep communities safe. Now it seems as if there's just a drive to other people. Yeah. And I don't know if that's like Stephen Miller's endgame or Kristi Noem's endgame or Donald Trump's endgame, but that is the concerted effort to pit American versus American, because, they have to distract and divide us if they want to enact their incredibly unpopular, un-American agenda. All right, Carlene, so next I want to talk to you about Ohio, where we're at. A lot of nervousness, a lot of people, scared, frankly, for good reason, with potential ICE surges here in the Buckeye State. For those that may not know, Ohio has a couple of very large communities of new Americans, namely in Springfield. We have a very large contingent of Haitian immigrants that are living there. And then also in Columbus, we have actually the second largest Somali community outside of Minneapolis. So Ohioans are kind of feeling the moment, if you will, a little bit more than maybe some other people in other parts of the country are. I know actually, there was a demonstration in Springfield at the beginning of February when, their temporary protected status, and I hope you get into this, but their TPS is, potentially being revoked, which kind of opens up the Haitian community in Springfield for God knows what, frankly. But I want you to talk a little bit about what we're thinking about in terms of Ohio, where we are paying close attention to, and what folks who are watching should be paying close attention to.
Sure. So a little bit of background. So TPS is temporary protected status, and it's basically a special legal status given to people who are fleeing from a country that is deeply unstable, whether it's unstable from like governmental collapse, a natural disaster, etc. And DHS ended the TPS for Haitians, and then a judge blocked that and found that Kristi Noem had basically made that decision out of racial animus, and she didn't go through the proper procedure to determine that, you know, the place was stable enough for people to return to. People are terrified to return to a place that is deeply unsafe. And so that is the context in which this is happening. And this is also happening with, you know, Republican Governor DeWine saying that Springfield has benefited greatly from these immigrants, and they are a huge boon to not just the community but also the economy. And when and if, you know, the ICE surge happens, I want people to remember, like, undocumented people, you have, if you're watching, you have constitutional rights. Okay, the Constitution does protect you. We at our office, we have some Know Your Rights cards. So if you ever see an ACLU staffer, you know, we hand these out for free. So for example, if ICE detains you, you have the right to consult a lawyer. If the police ask to search you, you have the right to refuse. You don't have to give consent. If you also still have, you know, the right to free speech, and you still have rights. You're still protected by the Constitution. And then as for protesters, I want to say, like, you do have the First Amendment right to protest. Your protest rights are especially strongest on places like sidewalks and parks, and you do have the right to record, right? You can, when you're in a place you're allowed to be, you can record anything in plain view, including law enforcement, doing law enforcement things, but you may not obstruct or interfere. So, like, and I think the right to record and just, like, people being brave enough to take out their phones and record and make, like a document of history of what has been happening to people, at the very least, just to bear witness. Like, they might know that they can't go and get him from the ICE van, they can't go and get him from detention, but at least we can be here to tell people what actually happened to them.
We cannot trust one word the administration is saying as it relates to, frankly, anything, but particularly as it relates to immigration enforcement. We are seeing them in real time trying to tell us, don't believe your lying eyes. And that's why I just want to really, really stress how important it is to get out and record these operations safely, of course, and to not interfere. But having that video evidence is just so critical, because they're going to try to spin whatever happens next as they are the victims. The second thing I think we really need to talk about, especially as it relates to Springfield, is that the Haitian community there, my God, have they just been through enough already? I mean, this is the exact same group of people who Vice President Vance and President Trump said were eating people's cats and dogs in 2024. When all they have done is have the audacity to seek a better life in America and provide for their family. That's how we thank them for their hard work and for their willingness to take a chance and bet on America, is to say that they are subhuman and they eat people's pets. Get the fuck out of here with that.
Yeah, 100%. I also want to point out that being physically present in the U.S. without proper documentation is a civil violation. In a lot of places, like, jaywalking is a civil violation. Okay, so I just want to also have that framework around, like, that is a civil violation. And if you were to think about this in any other context, like, if we were to imagine that, like, the EPA, which, you know, like, regulates emissions for cars, if they suddenly decided to do enforcement, like, if you exceed your emissions cap, we're going to come find you, we're going to come tackle you, we're going to come in your house, and anyone else who, like, is trying to stop us, we're going to tackle them too. And even if you look like you're someone who might have a car that would exceed the emissions cap, we're going to get you too. Like, this is just how far and how crazy it's gotten with this huge influx of cash that's come into DHS, approved by Congress. And this is the result, and we probably haven't even seen the worst of it.